Thanks for coming out to Wannsee tonight for Liana Finck's talk, Let There Be Light, based on her book. Liana is this semester's Holtzbrinck Fellow. My name is R.J. McGill. I'm the head of communications here at the American Academy and the editor of our Berlin Journal, which, it should be noted, had the privilege of publishing 5 pages of Let There Be Light in the most recent issue. Thank you, Penguin Random House, and thank you, Liana. Before I invite our introducer to the podium, I'm going to say a few words about the Holtzbrinck Fellowship and about the format of the evening, and then I will hand it over. The Academy's Holtzbrinck Fellowship was established in 1999 with the generous support of the Holtzbrinck Publishing Group, with the express purpose of promoting German-American dialogue in the fields of journalism, fiction, and the arts, and scholarship. We're grateful to the Holtzbrinck family for the continuing support, and in particular the Academy's long-standing trustee and current vice chairman, Stefan von Holtzbrinck, whose generosity makes so many things here possible, including each issue of the Berlin Journal, which he underwrites. Over the years, the Academy's Holtzbrinck Fellowship has made it possible for outstanding American academics, journalists, and writers to come to the Academy as fellows, among them Alex Ross, Hilton Als, Jonathan Safran Foer, Anne Hull, Nicole Krauss, George Packer, and David Troyer, among many others, including tonight's speaker, Liana Finck. And the honor of introducing Liana tonight goes to a fellow New Yorker illustrator whose tiled artwork you may have seen while exiting the Wannsee subway S-Bahn. Did anyone see that on the walls as you walked by? So you know it was by Christoph Niemann. And since he's also my friend, I'm especially happy to introduce him tonight. Christoph is an artist, author, and animator. His work appears regularly on the covers of The New Yorker, National Geographic, and the New York Times Magazine, and has been the subject of numerous museum retrospectives. Most recently, he designed 5 special rooms exclusively for the Museum Kunstpalast in Düsseldorf that are dedicated to the basic elements of visual art: line, surface, abstraction, perspective, and made tangible with the help of murals, 3D objects, cameras, and screens. That's directly from your website, so I know it's true. Christoph has drawn live. This is something I think you maybe invented, actually. Drawn live from the Venice Biennale, the Olympic Games in London, and yes, even the New York City Marathon while running it. He created The New Yorker's first augmented reality cover, as well as a hand-drawn 360-degree VR animation for the magazine's US Open issue. For the current issue of The New Yorker, the AI issue, he designed not only the print cover, but also a website where readers can use a bot to generate their own covers. That's democracy in action. Christoph is the author of 20 books for adults and children, and he was the subject of an episode of a 2017 Netflix documentary called Abstract: The Art of Design. And in 2010, he was inducted into the Art Directors Hall of Fame. Christoph, thank you for being here. It is really a pleasure to have you back at the Academy and to welcome you to the podium in just a minute. Liana's talk will last for 30 minutes, followed by a Q&A on stage. Christoph and Liana will come to the stage, and Christoph will pose a few questions. You have an opportunity also to ask a few questions. Simply raise your hand. If you're joining us via Zoom, welcome. Please type your questions into the Q&A part of the platform. And without further ado, Christoph, the floor is yours.
So the only thing I really want to say is I'm here as a fan of the Academy. It's just always a joy to come out here. There's like a very special moment here always for my American-German heart. And then, of course, I'm a huge fan of Liana, who I got to meet a year ago in New York. I guess everybody knows Liana's work. For those who don't, maybe, you never know, she is an incredibly prolific cartoonist for the New Yorker, which I just heard like 300 cartoons, is like absolutely mind-boggling. An author of many books. I saw on your list all the books that you have forthcoming in the next couple of years, which I don't know if you've already written them all or if you... Okay, well then I'm not jealous. And of course, that's probably the first time I saw your work. I'm one member of the 600,000 strong army of Instagram followers who see the work that you do there probably daily, sometimes multiple times a day. And there's like so many things about your work that we all love, but there's one thing that I find very, very special, and we were talking about Ross Chast, who might be the only other person who managed that, is you've created a couple of, I think, really cartoons that have made it in the pantheon of kind of like the classic New Yorker cartoons. Like there's the egg, and there's just cracking, and underneath it says, "I think I'm turning into my mother." And this is really, this is like immediately it's up there with like some of the absolute classics. But what you've done, and this is very special in my opinion, that you have these kind of like very prominent cartoons, but then you have what you have on your Instagram, what you have in your books. It's almost like a continuing piece of poetry that really is kind of like subtle and sometimes very zingy and strong and loud and nasty. And it feels to me, it's like one kind of story that just is by connecting all these little images, and to pull that off as an artist, especially with all the images, this barrage of images that's all over us, is absolutely incredible, and that I'm really, really jealous of. And you are, as we all know, just like I looked at the awards that you got, and it's mind-boggling. Like most recently a Guggenheim Fellowship. The most exciting award you got is that you got the Berlin Prize, because this is the reason why we get to enjoy you in person tonight, and I'm very grateful for that.
Hi. I'm going to open with a disclaimer that I'm sick and I'm a little loopy, and I'm sorry. And follow that with a big thank you. Thank you, RJ. Thank you, Christoph. Those made me feel really good. Being here makes me really happy. Thanks to the Academy. Thank you so, so much. It's been an incredible 3 months, and I'm planning on an incredible 4th month. Can you all hear me? Am I speaking too quietly? Okay. So I've kind of fallen out of giving public talks since the pandemic, and I don't have a feel for what you all will like. I have kind of a reading, and I'll stick to it unless I sense that you're very bored. I'll be speaking a little bit about one book and then a little bit about another book. This first book is the book that is out last of mine. It came out in 2022. It's called Let There Be Light. It is an adaptation of the book of Genesis. And I describe it as having a female god, but I think she's more specific than that. She's me. She's shy. She's kind of immature. She's a maker. I needed a role model for myself, and I needed a god for myself. And both of those things were few and far between. As a weird woman, having grown up in in Western religion, God is not that relatable. I don't know if God's relatable for many people, but it seems to me that it's extra hard to get into it if God is really not like you. So God's not shy. God's male, God's not shy. And I grew up with Judaism. I grew up going to synagogue every week and going to Jewish schools, and I never really rebelled. I feel Jewish, but at the same time, I don't really participate. And I was making this book in order to delve into what it would take to make me feel like I was an active member of my religion. So here's a reading I've never done before from this book. I'll start with a quote. The book is in 3 parts, as I didn't do much research, but I believe the book of Genesis also was written at 3 very distinct times over the course of millennia. So the first part is the oldest part, the creation story, and little bits after it. And I opened this part with a quote from Jamaica Kincaid in an article she wrote about gardening in the New Yorker. There's no need for me to go into the troubles with the King James Version of the Bible here, but when I encountered the first book, the book of Genesis, I immediately understood it to be a book for children. And that speaks to my experience. I read the Torah in Hebrew day school as a child, and I was trying in this book to capture my perceptions of it as a child. Like it still feels like it's a children's book to me because I read it as a child and because it's so ancient and it kind of was written when the world was a child in a certain way, especially this first part. Cain and Abel. Life was easy for Cain's brother Abel. Abel was a shepherd. His sheep followed wherever he went. Can you all read I won't voice the speech bubbles. I'm assuming you can read them. Oh yeah, his sheep followed wherever he went. Cain, an aspiring farmer, was attempting the impossible, making life appear from nowhere. Finally, Cain's patience paid off, and he got a little plant. No human could fathom the joy he felt when his hard work literally bore fruit. Abel certainly couldn't. And Abel saying, "Are you okay?" But God could understand. Cain was sure, and that was the only thing that mattered. So when the fruit was ripe, Cain picked it and prepared it as a gift for God. He waited at a distance, first gleefully, then doggedly. He awoke to the sound of chewing. So then Cain's running towards the sound of chewing. He says, "Did you give God a gift?" And Abel says, "Yes." "Why did God accept your gift and not mine?" "Oh, Cain, did you really think God would bother with a cucumber salad?" That day in the field, Cain became a bad man. And he's saying, God loves cucumber salad. He's losing it. There was no roadmap yet to being a bad man. Cain was the first one. And then there's a conversation between God and Cain. "Cain, I can hear your brother's blood crying out to me from the ground. What have you done to Abel?" "Nothing." I'm relating to this as a big sister. "Am I my brother's keeper?" And she says, "Wicked man, from now on you are cursed. The earth which opened to drink your brother's blood will no longer yield to your hand. There may be a time when you wish to take up gardening again, but you won't be able," no pun intended. "You will wander the earth, and nothing you plant will ever grow." They hadn't invented tissues yet. And he says, "You've hidden your face from me. I'll wander the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me." "No one will kill you, I promise." So she made a sign for Cain, and she put it on his forehead. It says, "Do not kill." It struck Cain that all his life he'd been trying to recreate the Eden of his parents' stories, and now he never would. Not only had he failed to grow a single thing worthy of God's notice, he had also definitively erased all hope of a return to innocence. He had begun to destroy the world. From now on, creation and destruction would race neck and neck, each striving to overtake the other. And then he's, I think that's, and off he went. So I made this book in 3 main styles: the childish style that you just saw, and then a middle style that's mostly just the story of Abraham, and then a final style that I made while I was in the first trimester of pregnancy, so it's terrible. It was supposed to look futuristic, but I don't know how to do that. It would have taken work and time. So I'm not showing you any of that here, that style. But I'll show you a little bit of the second style of Abraham. The reason I made this book in 3 different styles is that I'd planned it all in the childish style, because that's the point of this book for me, was making a God that's relatable and to me, not to anyone else. And the God, the God character doesn't really appear after the very beginning of the book of Genesis. Like, it's more of a concept, and the show is more about these like men who are doing what they believe God said. And I just found I just absolutely could not get interested, especially in Abraham, who's the most like straight up kind of Beowulfian. I don't know, just like a guy going around listening to a voice and doing things, and there was no way in for me. And it wasn't childish to me, like this God character, like having whims and being really creative and being really immature. Thinking of that as like a shy girl made a lot of sense to me, but I couldn't access this man who took himself very seriously and made real estate deals. And I decided that I could, and this style that I made Cain and Abel in, that I made the first part of this book in, is my style. And I realized I needed to make another style for Abraham that's kind of a parody of a style that I want to make fun of, a style of someone who takes themselves very seriously. So I'll skip ahead a little bit, and then is that a good idea? Yeah. I'll just show you the beginning of Abraham, and then I'll skip back a little bit and tell you something else. So the style of Abraham, I took the very small amount that I learned in art school, and I kind of used it to parody a Bildungsroman, like if you could imagine like a very important book about a young man going off to do something very important, and like in a world in which graphic novels are important, this is the style I would have imagined it in. And I was drawing from James Joyce, whom I love, and like Philip Roth, whom I don't. And so it was a lot from like the art world. Like I've been indoctrinated. I love these stories of people dedicating themselves completely to their art. And so I was telling the story of Abraham kind of as if he's an artist, that mixed with maybe my grandfather who loved stocks and was a really good man. Like I think Abraham, it was real estate, it wasn't stocks, but to me it's like the same. Like he's just a good man, not an artist man. I merged those two people together, the artist and the good person who makes good and is canny. So I'll just show you this. I won't read it. Oh, that's later. I will read you this. In between the 3 parts, I have some little short parts. And this is one short part that's between the first innocent part and the second Abraham part. In the beginning, God had been everywhere. In order to create the world, she first had to hollow out a space inside herself. Into this space, she put the world. As the world grew, she withdrew herself more and more. She withdrew to the point that she was nearly imperceptible to her own creations. She would have become completely imperceptible if, in her wisdom, God hadn't left us a map to herself in the form of a collection of stories. And this whole part is a riff on a Kabbalistic theory called Tzimtzum, which is about, like, it's explaining why we don't see God, and it's also explaining why God appears less in the later parts of the Torah than in the early parts. If you look close enough at a droplet of water, you will see the entire universe inside of it. Just so with the Torah. As in life, God appears less and less in each chapter of the Torah than in the one before. In Abraham, she appears mostly as a disembodied voice. In Isaac, she is hinted at but not seen. And by Joseph, she is glimpsed only in dreams. God's vanishing is so gradual that we hardly notice it at all. She is letting us adjust bit by bit to the dark. And I'm not keeping great track of time, but I think we're good. I'm going to show you a little bit from a forthcoming book that I have out that's a parody of a parenting manual, a genre that I really love and really love to make fun of, in which I'm somewhat of an expert in, having read a lot of them. So it's called How to Baby. It's coming out in late August. This is some of the front matter. I think it takes not for everyone, but for me, it's taken me a number of books to get comfortable having fun with front matter. And I think the secret reason anyone makes a graphic novel or an illustrated book is just to have fun with the front matter and the back matter. And the cover, those are the fun parts. Okay, I will read and you will look. If you've gone public with your news, you might encounter a range of responses. So we have the overly excited person, the person who doesn't like children at all, and then the jealous person. You will also get a lot of advice. The advice will come to you across the great divide. So this says, no one tells you having breastfeeding, caring for a baby is very hard, and everyone says that. And it's very, now I know that it's true, but it was really confusing, I guess, because no one's telling you the good stuff because they forget you don't know the good stuff yet before you've had a kid. So this advice will come to you across the great divide. These people know what it's like, don't they? So I'm not going to read these out loud. It's a lot. This is kind of one spread in the book that I assume people just will look at. Someone told me that. I don't think it's true. I bought a ticket to prenatal yoga in the park, and then it rained, and I still really regret spending that $16. I never went back. I never went. I never wanted to go. I bought it from guilt. You don't need a wipe weight or a wipe warmer, actually. Oh, so this is a news spread, and this part, the text is, I don't know. This is more about material things that you're being told to buy. The book is a lot about making fun of how there's an industry around this huge life change, and the industry's answer to the huge life change is that you need to buy some really granular stuff. This is known as nesting. And this character is saying, do you know if you're having an Uppa baby or a Duna? Those are two brands of strollers. No one uses a Duna. Please enjoy this excerpt from the timeless classic, 9,000 Must-Haves for Baby, 1 millionth edition, by Dr. So-and-so MD. Crib. Actually, you don't need one of these until your baby is fully ready to withdraw from her extra trimester, TM, so maybe never, but buy one anyway, preferably Northern European in natural untreated pine. I'm like not great at parody because I am not great at fiction, so I'm basically lifting this from actual, like it's not called the extra trimester, it's called the fourth trimester. And it's in Harvey Crib. Wearable external womb. This damp, dark, silken rubber pod is designed to make baby's life as comfy and worry-free as it was in the womb. Electromagnetic forces will soothe and rock your baby until he's ready to emerge. Designed to be worn day and night, as long as you sleep standing up. Breast pump. Did you know the breast is the ultimate high-tech gadget? Not only is breast milk delicious and nutritious, it's also convenient and free. Say goodbye to those pesky, bank-breaking trips to the store for formula. You have it all right here. All it takes, is an iron will and a 24/7 commitment of mind and body. It's the best gift you can give your baby. This pump will tide you over between your frequent breastfeeding sessions. And this is the portable breast pump thing. I forgot what I called it Lisa. Apologize to anyone with Lisas in their life. That said, you will also need a portable option. Simply stash Lisa TM inside your pumping bra TM to extract life-giving milk during meetings and parties, and make sure to buy two, one for each breast, which actually, of course, you would need to. Breast milk freezer. Oh, that's Lisa. Breast milk freezer. If you're doing it right, you will produce more milk than your paltry home freezer can contain. Stash it here. Organization system sold separately. Stroller. Wait. Have you read the writing of 19th century French stroller expert Bébé Flaneur? Until you do, anything we say on the subject will be lost on you. Car seat. So there are two kinds of car seat, and the asterisk says, for infants. You'll cycle through several others in the coming years. One for cool babies, one for plebes. Whichever type you opt for, you'll want one that's brand new in an unopened package. You'll also want to invest in adapters so you can snap the seat onto your stroller, bicycle, or Vespa. Bouncer. Ever wonder where you'll put the baby? He may or may not permit you to leave him in one of these for up to 4 minutes at a stretch. Definitely worth a try. Baby carrier. There are essentially 3 kinds of baby carrier. You'll want at least 2 of each. Various wedge-shaped pillows. You can't have too many of these. Why? Oh, ha ha ha. If you have to ask, you're in for a big surprise. An elevator, a washing machine, and perhaps an extra room or 2. Since your landlord probably won't smile upon your sneaking these amenities into your current residence, besides in dreams, you'll want to consider moving right now. Be sure to have plenty of money. Don't worry, though. You're doing all this prep work, so you'll be able to relax a bit after the baby comes. And this had a caption. I don't remember if the caption was in the book, but it said, we're planning on raising him without technology. And that's about all I've got. I could ramble on, but maybe we go to the Q&A.
Great, so I'm going to just take the opportunity to just ask a number of very short questions that I just want to know. So you have your chance later, so I just go with here. You sketch digital or analog?
I should sketch analog. I have ventured into digital, and I've done digital on a Wacom. Raise your hand if this gets really boring. A Wacom Cintiq, and also on an iPad. More recently, it's been an iPad. I have no luck with it. My work is bad. It's convenient.
The Cintiq for like the non-illustrators, that's really kind of like your spaceship, and the iPad, that's more like a kind of like a broken skateboard compared to that. So
no, but okay, the Cintiq you need. So unless you buy the really expensive one, which I think has its own limitations, you need to also have your computer. So the iPad is much easier to carry around.
It's a stationary spaceship.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Favorite animal in real life?
Oh, that's hard. I'm not going to say a human because we're not, but
Nope. Okay.
anything else.
Favorite animal as a character in drawings?
Probably a dog. How about you?
I think I am really terrible at drawing cats, and I think dogs are easier, and also yeah.
Yeah. Do you have the trick for a cat?
No, I'm still we have a lot of artists here, so we'll do that later. We'll just do a little course, like communal course on how to draw cats.
That's like a thing that I ask other illustrators, and I have learned, but like it doesn't stick.
So I heard that you draw in coffee shops a lot. Do you order like the same thing? You say like double espresso, keep them coming, or like do you have kind of like a different thing every day?
I haven't drawn in coffee shops so much since the pandemic started, so this is a past self. This is why I'm not posting as much on Instagram, partly. That I think those drawings come from processing life as it's happening and while drawing. And right now I live, but I don't draw while I live. I draw separately.
So you actually get inspiration when you sit in a coffee shop, you observe and
Yeah, it's so nice to be surrounded by people and not have to talk to them, but it's also so maddening. It depends on the coffee shop. I would normally get a normal coffee, but if a coffee shop has coffee I really don't like, I'd get an Americano. And depending on where I'm at with my body image, I would get a pastry as well.
And which is easier to get off the iPad than off a piece of paper, I guess. Okay, and now actually, if we can just, is there any way we can get the images back down?
Wait, what's easier on an iPad?
If you have crumbs and stuff on there, it's easier to wipe off the glass than off a piece of paper. Then again, it's more artsy, maybe. Like if you have all these sprinkles on the piece of drawing.
Yeah, coffee's not good.
I have this. There's this one drawing of Cain where he's lying down, looking at he's desperate. I think it was the 5th or 6th slide. Could you just put that up for 1 second, because I really have a question about that. Now we're getting really nerdy.
He's desperate. He wants his thing to grow.
Or
he's desperate later.
Yes, this one. Sorry, this one. Okay, so, and I just completely have to disagree with you here. You'd call this your childish style. This is an insane drawing. I mean, just how the foot goes over the other foot there in the back. This is it's amazing calligraphy, and I hope you notice. I'm in awe of your drawing. The facial expression, the fewer lines, the more incredible. for me, like I could drool over like the fact that it's like one line weight. It doesn't even kind of go thick and thin. It's just like it feels like a continuous line. So the question is like, how many tries for a drawing like that?
Okay, my process is that I draw over and over and over. I try as hard as I can to mimic the way someone would write and edit. So I'll do I'll do like a really rough version. I work on 8.5 by 11. Sorry, Europeans.
No, this is important. Yeah,
oh no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, A4 people.
Yeah.
But I work on American standard printed paper, which is 8.5 by 11 inches, and I have a system for mapping out my boxes, which is that I have kind of a T-square ruler. I use a sewing ruler because they're cheap. I buy them online. They're like flimsy, clear plastic. And I mark out if I'm doing, so I used to do square boxes. Now I do slightly vertical boxes because I realize you need more room for text. And so vertical is better. But I mark out the corners of the boxes using the sewing ruler. So I have a page with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 little dots on it. And then I hand draw the lines to create the boxes. I don't use margins usually, so the boxes abut each other. And then I'll draw, I often write on my phone with little line breaks as if you're transcribing poetry, and then I'll just put those texts into each box where I think they should go, and then I'll really rough out the drawing, and then I'll use a light box. I use a portable an LED light box that they're very portable and they're light, they're cheap. They use an Android adapter, and I carry around a battery pack. So
I need a product later, but we'll see.
Just anything on the internet. It doesn't matter what brand. And then I'll trace it, and then I'll end up tracing it, I don't know, maybe twice to have a draft of the book. But then once I have like a chapter done, and I don't save my originals. I scan things in. I have them on the computer. I move things around a little bit.
Wait. You don't save your originals?
I kind of save some, but I wouldn't know how to.
Where would the ones that you discard go?
The recycling.
Where do you live? Please, for the benefit of future generations, keep.
So I have them on the computer in order. Then I would either print them out or make a PDF, which I could look at on the iPad. I would mark it up like you're editing something, and then I print it out with the markups. Then I retrace it.
So there's like even later on there would be iterations. And can you judge at the moment you draw whether a drawing works?
I'm thinking much more about whether a story works, but if a drawing doesn't work, it's a good sign that the story isn't working.
Okay. When you like show us your things on Instagram, or when you go through, or let's say especially on Instagram, how many of the drawings we see exist compared to the ones you do? Do you just let go and you just publish anything you want, or is there like 1 in 3 that you feel like it's not up to snuff?
I used to post drawings on Instagram the minute I made them, and I would make them the minute I thought them, and I'd photograph them with my iPhone camera, and things are really different now. I've gotten like a lot of anger, a normal amount of anger on Instagram, which is a lot, and things have changed. I don't know, I've gotten older, it's less something I want to be doing all day, every day, and I don't feel like Instagram is the place to be anymore. I don't feel like still images are the thing to do on social media anymore. So I've been distancing myself from it. It's broken my heart. I miss it. It's time to move on. I'm posting once a day now, and I'm posting things that I just keep a stack of on my computer, and I'll just like throw one out. But it used to be like a diary of my day that I would post like 5 every day, let's say. And those, I don't think I would draw something unless I felt like it should go out. But the beauty of Instagram is that like maybe 1 in 10 was good, but maybe I was posting 10 every day. If I posted one good one every day, that was enough. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the beauty of it for me, because I'm really bad at choosing what I make that's good. Now, I guess I make a lot and I don't post everything I make, because with time I can kind of tell what's better.
Did you ever consider another job, like seriously, at some point in your life, other than being an artist and a writer?
No, but sometimes I wish I had.
There's still time. You could be an art dealer of your own art that you're like discarding. So I think that's a good one.
I'd like to have been a doctor. What would you have liked to be if you were redoing?
It's not so much liking. I would like to be a doctor. I don't think I have it in me. I was considering architecture, but I didn't have the patience for that either. So.
It's the same. You're a designer.
When you draw, do you have an imaginary audience, like somebody, like where you think like, oh, if they see that, they would think this or that?
No.
That you can like bounce off, like virtually bounce off ideas?
No, I'm terrified of people. That's my gift and my problem.
Okay, no, this is because there was okay. There's another question for later. You could have one piece of art by any artist dead or alive. Just no matter, like, doesn't matter how much it costs or in which museum it hangs. Which one would you pick?
No, not into it.
Not into it. That's a very good answer.
Because I don't want to be the custodian of something precious. I want to believe that art is something greater than me, not something I can own. And I also don't know. I've never been to a framer. I do own some art, and I feel so guilty towards it. Our apartment isn't beautiful. You know, I want to do right by the art. My mom's an artist. Like, I want to do right by her art, but that's an exhausting thing to think of. Like, do I want to own a gorgeous house just to be a good daughter? Hang my mom's art up in it. My husband is also an artist.
If you could snap your fingers and acquire a skill, like artistic or non-artistic, like something where you feel that would come in really handy in life.
Handy. For fun, I'd love to be able to dance. For handy, I think I'd love to be able to read a spreadsheet. And those are, I think, kind of similar skill sets.
What's the closest thing you have to a superpower?
I know I have some. I'm trying to think.
Well, definitely drawing, but that doesn't count. But you can always skip.
I need to think a little bit more. I think, Scott, am I good at anything? Oh yeah, I'm psychic.
You're psychic. Well, that's.
I have psychic dreams.
All right, so we all know that as a cartoonist, you constantly get people telling you like what to draw, like, oh, you should do a cartoon about X, Y, and Z. But also as an artist, you get a lot of advice. What's really bad advice that people constantly give other artists that they should not follow under any circumstances?
I'm trying to think. I think personally, I'm a line person, and when a line person gets advice from a spatial or color person or painterly person, it's not good. So I've been trying really hard to access using color for a long time. I don't think I have like a real deficit with color. I don't have a problem with it, but I think I have a problem with materials. And so I've asked friends who are very painterly how they, like, not only color, but just filling a page. And for me, I always feel like I'm kind of filling a page with zero reason, because the reason part, the reason part of me can't connect to their advice. The reason part of me is in line. Lately, I've been better able to take advice. I took some advice from you on kind of ink to buy, and it's been transformative. And I took some advice from Leanne Chapton, who's an illustrator I admire a lot, about using a square brush. And that's been working. It's really interesting. But I think you need to think from what you're good at and how you can stretch that, as opposed to trying to be someone totally else.
Well, I have a lot more questions, but out of fairness to you guys, I would open it up to anybody else wanting to know something.
Anne Marie Slaughter, fellow. That was wonderful, first of all. Yes. That was just terrific. But do you think more in words or in pictures?
I think in ideas. Ideas. For me, I'm a very visual Okay, I did not read the Temple Grandin book. Has anyone else skimmed it about thinking in pictures or versus not pictures? So I think I'm a symbol thinker. I think in symbols. For me, pictures and words are all symbols.
Huh.
And I think in those. I'm synesthetic. When I was a kid, words all had a picture to them. Now they just have colors. But I think I think in symbols. I'm very curious about how I and other people think. It's very hard to know how you think. Like, it's very hard to really get it right, to really know.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much. I really enjoyed this. I'm Holly. I'm a fellow. And I don't quite know how to phrase the question, so I'm going to do it a bit ineptly. And it has something to do with the thinking, because you said something quite wonderful about the story, about how you know that if the image isn't right, then the story isn't right. And I was wondering if you could explain a bit more about the relationship between, like, sort of drawing and thinking, because it seems to me as though the How to Baby book is a different endeavor than Let There Be Light in thought terms, and that Let There Be Light is a thought book, whereas How to Baby is something else. Maybe it's more like maybe you can say what you think it is, but Let There Be Light, it felt like you were surprised by some of the things that happened. And I'm wondering if that's true, and B, like, how you could, if you could narrate a bit about what you were surprised by, or like what you sort of, you explained in a way what you were doing it for, to sort of connect to religion, but it feels like also that you also got somewhere. Things happened when the book was being written, or at least that's my sense of it from that question mark.
Thank you. Thanks, Holly. I would say Let There Be Light was an adaptation, and How to Baby was a compilation, because How to Baby was taken from a lot of drawings that I had posted on Instagram, and I turned them into a narrative, and it was very, it's not a beautiful book, and I think that speaks to how unintuitive it was to string these things together that had already been made into a different format. I don't think hard is bad, but it was hard. It was weirdly hard to do. Let There Be Light really was kind of a mystical experience for me. It wasn't all easy, partly because I really just couldn't access parts of the story, and you always are having, when that happens, you're always having to choose when you just give up and phone it in, and when you keep looking for a new access point to get in. I feel like I found the correct access point with Abraham by finding the style, and I'm really proud of that. Other parts, I didn't have time. I wish I could have spent another couple of years on that book. A lot of the time, just as a book is starting to come together, it gets published. But that's when it could start to really be fun.
It's time for the sequel then.
I'm trying to read Exodus. It's been a while. I've been trying. I listened to them I was reading them in Hebrew and different English translations, but something I love to do is listen to the Robert Alter translation on tape, because it's on audio, because it's read by a great reader.
Thanks very much. I found it fascinating. Are there any books from your own childhood that you would like to read to your own child?
Yeah.
And if so, which ones are they?
We're reading, gosh, yeah, I've bought so many children's books. I love children's books, and it's amazing to have a reason to read them. It just feels like the ultimate indulgence to read a children's book, and as an adult, and I'm not a self-indulgent person, so I just haven't read them in 30 years. But yeah, we're reading Strega Nona, we're reading Goodnight Moon over and over and over. It's so fun. It's so fun to read Goodnight Moon, because my kid is finding story in the pictures. It's so clearly not all about, the words don't really come first. The words are for me and the pictures are for him, and we're both adding to the reading experience, and we're reading together. We're reading a silly one that I didn't realize it was popular, called The Fire Cat, that I thought was very niche, but a lot of people I'm talking to here have also read it. It's drawn badly, but in a really great way. I'm trying to think. One of my favorite kids' books is a Roz Chast Steve Martin book that's an alphabet book called The Alphabet from A to Y with bonus letter Z. I think it's so funny, and it's not in Berlin with us, so I'm excited to go revisit it when we get back home. Lots more.
Liana, thank you so much. I have two questions. One, because I do art history, and that has just as you developed your style, were there artists that had a profound influence on you, or approaches to drawing that were especially fruitful as you developed your style? And the other one's really different kind of question, because I'm also a professor of religious studies and Jewish studies about the Bible. You identified, and I think anyone will appreciate that who's read Let There Be Light, that you're God. And I just wanted to ask you if you felt the problems of being God as God, and that so many terrible things happen in the story of Genesis, and God seems to be there as these terrible things happen. And then I'm thinking, especially in your Let There Be Light, the story of Noah, where you have this sense of destruction of the whole world, and how you tried to conceptualize that. So I'm just thinking of this theological term, theodicy. But on the one hand, I'm just so curious as art historian, who were the artists that helped you develop your style? On the other hand, as a religious studies professor, how you dealt with this problem of evil in the world of God as God.
Thanks, David. I'll answer the second question first. I don't have the words for that. I really should have the words for this, because I think it's probably a simple-ish answer. But either I'm a narcissist and I have no problem thinking of myself as God, or both, or I'm not really thinking of myself as God. I'm just thinking trying to explain God to myself. Maybe this is also narcissistic. I'm why the heck would God behave this way? Well, if it were me, would be my reasoning. So I think that's what I'm doing. I'm let's try to explain why God caused a flood. Why would I cause a flood? I'm kind of a perfectionist who really hates to hurt people's feelings, and I'm always justifying my own behavior in a way that comes from a good place, because it's kind of if I can justify it, I didn't do anything wrong. But it's also very immature. So I guess and I do that for other people too, and I think I'm doing it here for God. So there are reasons why she does everything. And they're fine reasons. She causes the flood because she's crying. And like it's all, she has her flaws, but they're very like emotional, like they're human emotional flaws. She's not power hungry. She's good, and she just wants to be loved, even though she's giant. She's like, she has a thing for men, which is why I explained to myself why all the characters in the Torah are men. Like, she just likes them. And, like, she's not the most enlightened, educated person, but we understand, like, she's having feelings.
There's a thing for Noah.
Especially Noah, but all men. Maybe not Cain. But Noah was her first love. But the things I really had a problem with in the Torah weren't things that God did. They were just things that were written about in a way that I wouldn't write about them, such as Hagar, the slave woman. I wrestled with that story, and I made it really long, and it was taking over the book. And it's not that I want to not acknowledge that there was slavery. It's the way the Torah writes about it. I couldn't write about it that way with that much acceptance. And so I was trying to channel the voice of the Torah and make it come from me. And that part was really hard, and I couldn't do it. And I also couldn't do the story of Dinah, who Jacob has one daughter. He has all these sons, and he has one daughter, and she gets raped, and then her brothers murder the whole town of the person who raped her. And the story is told in such it's not like an operatic, dramatic, like, look how horrible this was, kind of like amazing, deliciously horrible story way. It's just like, yeah, that explains why these are our enemies. And it's just like not really the way I couldn't tell that story. I just made Dina one of the boys. I just made her another sibling. And so I skirted a lot of issues. They weren't really God issues that I couldn't think of. And artists, I categorize the artists who are role models to me as I love designers. So Christoph is on the edge between illustration and design, and I'm a really bad designer, and I have this huge admiration for this type of work. But I think I do something that's a little like design in that I'm very conceptual, like I'm idea based. So my ideas aren't that visually interesting, but they're ideas.
Well, okay, I like strongly disagree, like both about the design, because like the calligraphy you have in the books, that's like easily reason for a whole other lecture, and the compositions and everything. But
Thanks.
Go on.
Doesn't come naturally to me at all. I have huge admiration for designers, and I think the designers I love are few, and Christoph is very much one of them, and was very important to me at the time when it really mattered, when I was in college, let's say. I had your Lego book, and I loved I still do, but like it was like formative. Raz Chast, Myra Kalman, Saul Steinberg, William Steig, Maurice Sendak. It's like all like New York Jews mostly. I think that's my list. Oh, Jules Pfeiffer. There are more. Like I go to the Met a lot, which is a museum in New York, and I don't really look at the paintings, but I look at anything with anything more simple with lines, drawing, like nothing that worked on, but like old things, new things, medium things. kids'
Can I ask a
books.
follow-up line question?
Yeah.
You mentioned before the line weight is always the same throughout. The line weight is always the same throughout of your drawings. Have you experimented with sort of undulating lines, or like I don't know if Leanne Chapman with your square brush gave you pointers on sort of weight and pressure to undulate? Is that not interesting? Is it something that you, I don't know, deliberately choose just to do one weight?
I don't know. I don't know if I've experimented with undulating. I more like to experiment with different thickness of line. The drawings in these books I draw them tiny and then I blow them up. I'm much more comfortable drawing very small. I draw with like, not even my wrists, but like my fingers. Whereas I think a proper artist, as we were taught by our mothers who were taught by the New York abstract expressionists, was the arm. It's only in the arm. But for me, it's just in the fingers. So, yeah, I think that's why materials are hard for me. It's hard to find a material that works that way. I also hold a pen really funny, and I need something that won't skip. Do I hold it? I don't remember if I hold it very much. I curl my arm in. So someone once, when I was more Insta-famous, a stranger emailed me and said, that's because you're supposed to be a righty, but you're a lefty, but you're writing as if from your right side. And that was interesting. I don't know if that's true, but I look for that in other people. I don't know about... I'd like to experiment more, but there's only so much time in the day. I don't really care what a drawing looks like. I just want it to, like... If I have an idea that doesn't work with my pen, that's really an incentive to try something new. Also, my pens are not being sold anymore. I have a huge stockpile, though.
Which pen is it?
It's the old Muji .38. That's a shorter tip.
Last chance for questions.
I almost think I misheard. I'm Andy Moravchik, a fellow as well. I almost thought I misheard in passing. So you were explaining that your process goes from ideas or compilations to line. But then you said, almost in a half sentence, you're synesthetic.
I don't think, so I think...
So, but you don't feel that at the end point you can use color or want to use color. So how does color fit in?
I think my stuff it starts as an idea and then it becomes either drawing or word. But I think I was describing how I took fully formed drawings in this latest book, How to Baby, and I strung them together in an ongoing narrative, and that really hurt my brain to reformat something that I'd already made. The synesthetic, I don't know. I think to me, color is not aesthetic; it's symbolic and it's meaning. So but that wouldn't get across if I used it that way. A is red. Red means A. But that's not why people use color in art, is it? Maybe it is.
A is green, by the way.
Yeah, you got it?
No, blue. B is blue, C is red.
You have it.
I don't know it totally. Okay, what's your alphabet? Just give me the first color. What's your ABC?
Okay, so I'm Fisher-Price generation, but Fisher-Price letter set, magnet set, they've discontinued it. It's a choking hazard. Red, A red, B orange, C green, D gray, E brown, F light gray, G denim blue, H hay orange hay color, I white, J dark purple, kind of purple gum, K dark plastic green, L light pink, M medium green, N yellow, O black and empty. It was a different color and I lost it at some point in my childhood. P dark gray. I think I might have lost that one too in childhood. Q, dark green, R, purple, S, thin metallic, light blue, metal, T, light yellow, U, light gray, V, olive green, W, blue gray, X, dark green, Y, yellow, and Z, rust.
Okay,
How about you?
I, K, O, and Y.
I want to hear your letter. Do your parents have it?
No, it was just like something I kept arguing with my brother who had a different set.
He had it too.
Yeah.
My mom has it.
Thank you so much, really, on behalf of everybody.
Thank you, Liana. Thank you, Christoph.